father came up to me at one of the earlier masses. He's got 5 little boys, and he said, Father Mark, that responsorial psalm, help me, Lord, when I'm in trouble. He said his 5 little boys, he thinks that's what goes in their minds all day long. Many say that one of the greatest works of literature ever written is Dante's Divine Comedy. You don't have to have read it or know the background to grasp the common experience of the journey that Dante is forced to go on. It's a story of a man who confronts his struggle with sin, his failings within his heart, and he goes on a journey ultimately toward divine love. And that's what Lent is all about. Every year, for us to confront our own hearts and the sin and failings, the disorder that we know is in there, and to this Lent is like a more intense way, a more intentional way, and to give it a more honest look so that we can come out on the other side of Lent closer to and in union with divine love, which is ultimately what our hearts are made for and what our hearts crave. The story of Dante starts off saying that him recognizing that he's wandered off the straight path, and he finds himself now what he calls in a dark wood. And he describes the dark woods as a place of fear, of confusion. And what's interesting is that he says that he doesn't know how it is that he found himself in the dark wood. He doesn't know when he got in the dark wood. When did I even initially first get off the path? When did my bad habit really become a habit anyways? When did I stop praying? See, Dante found himself lost in the dark woods, disorientated. I think it's a great image for us to sit with as we enter into this holy season of Lent. Like, what dark wood might I find myself in? I maybe don't even remember how I got here or when I got into the dark wood. It's like a little off path here, a little off path there, and all of a sudden I might find myself far from God, or at least farther than what I'd want, farther away from those key relationships in my life. I'm in kind of a sort of a dark wood. See, but we aren't made for the dark woods. We're not made to be in a cycle of sin. We're made for divine love. And so this Lent, us as a Notre Dame community will be, of course, using our Sunday readings that the church gives us in the lectionary, but also looking at the journey of Dante to help us ourselves journey toward divine love. And this first week of Lent, 2 things: being stalked by the devil or sin, and then secondly, what is the journey that's required of us to go on? So first, being stalked. This first Sunday of Lent, the church gives us always in the gospel of Jesus being led out into the desert to be, it says, to be tempted by the devil. And notice that the devil has like a stalking quality to him. It's on display. The devil doesn't just appear once to Jesus and leave. I tried once, it didn't work, I'll just leave him alone now. Like, he watches, he waits. One of the Revised Standard Version translation says that the devil departed until an opportune time. He chooses his moments carefully. He chooses his temptations. He comes once, he comes twice, he comes a third time. So it's the way, the Bible has a way of talking about sin as if it has a stalking quality to it. The devil having a stalking quality to him. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking to devour. Or in Genesis, I've mentioned before, right before Cain killed his brother Abel, sin is there described crouching at the door, waiting to pounce. Has a stalking quality to it. Keeps us from love, keeps us from proceeding forward. You see that in Dante as well. Dante's in the dark wood. At one point, as he's in the dark wood, this disorientated spot, stuck in sin, cycle of sin, not even knowing really how he got there or when he got there. But all of a sudden, he sees a light shining on top of a hill up ahead. And so he knows what he ought to do. He knows where he needs to go. He knows the path to get out of the dark wood. And so he starts on it, begins his climb. And as soon as he starts up and begins his climb, he's confronted with a leopard, a lion, and a she-wolf, 3 beasts, representing the 3 major sins that Dante struggles with: lust, greed, and pride. And those 3, the lion, the leopard, and the she-wolf, they don't just block his way up. They stalk his moves. Dante tries to get around them. He tries to maneuver around them. He has good intention. I'm going to beat this lust. I'm going to overcome finally my outburst of anger, the sin, or this pride, this greed, what have you. But no matter how hard he tries to maneuver around these beasts, his sins refuse to let him by. His sins refuse him to continue to move up forward the path towards the light out of the dark wood. Keeps him from being the man that he knows he's called to be, that he wants to be, that those around him and his family probably is longing him to be, but he just can't outmaneuver him as much as he tries. In fact, they actually push him back. What sins stalk you? What temptations stalk you, hunt you down? Maybe I've tried to outmaneuver them. I want peace. I want that for my family. I want that, reach that new spot in my relationship with the Lord, or even relationship with the key relationships in my life. But they won't let you pass. That's what sin won't let us pass, of being and reaching that spot of divine love ultimately. It keeps me from getting up the mountain. Keeps me from being the man, the woman that we're called to be. And I think it's important to say, there's no person in this church right now that the devil does not stalk, that he doesn't present temptations to. He is highly strategic. He is highly strategic. We see in the gospel with the temptations that he gives to Jesus, and he's highly strategic of the timing, the type of temptations, the thoughts that that he puts in our head, the lies that he has, the accusations that he makes. He is highly strategic, tailor-made for you and for me. And I think it's also important to say, I've been doing this long enough in my own spiritual life, and then now 8 years of walking with people in the spiritual life, to know that there's not a small number of us in this church right now that aren't discouraged with the stalking, that aren't discouraged with the temptations, aren't discouraged with the devil stalking us, trying to maneuver, having the best intentions, but not able to get past this lust, greed, outbursts of anger, what have you. Dante gets discouraged. In fact, he despairs. Dante despairs. He says, well, I'll just turn back around and go back into the dark wood. It's where I must belong anyways now. I just belong in the dark wood. I'll just go back there. There's tears when he's confronted by the leper. I'll just go back to the dark wood. Which brings us secondly to the journey that's required of us. Because just as Dante begins his retreat back into the dark wood, he gets some help from Virgil. More on that next week. But for now is to say that Dante finds out from Virgil that he needs to take a journey. And the journey isn't up the mountain. The journey is down. The journey is actually into hell. He's got to confront some things that are down there. He's got to confront some hellish parts that reside in his heart before he can rise. And that is the Lenten journey. If we truly want to be free, if we truly want conversion, if we truly want to be healed, we have got to go deeper. We've got to go inside, and we got to take an honest look, perhaps even into some hellish areas and hellish parts. Saint Philip Neri once said, he said, "He who does not go down into hell while he is alive runs a great risk of going there after he's dead." That's why the church gives us the desert for 40 days, to clear out the diversions, to clear out the distractions so that we can be alone with our own thoughts more often and a greater degree. That's what the desert facilitates. And being alone with our own thoughts can be a scary thing, because when we go deep down within our hearts, we might have some thoughts, we might have some ideas, we might have some memories that we assume just leave there unattended. But the desert allows for this journey. It demands for this journey. And that's why I said 4 years ago, when I was my first Lent here, 4 years ago as the pastor, I said, as long as I'm the pastor of this community, as long as I'm your pastor, there will not be a first Sunday of Lent that I don't talk about phones and social media and screen time. And so I'm going to keep that promise, because it is really hard for me to believe that somebody is honest about going into the desert if they're not doing something with their phone or screen times. It's just, I have a really hard time believing that one is honest with entering the desert if they're not doing something with their screens. Deleting an app, deleting multiple apps, putting your phone away for a day of the week, what have you, setting limits. This year, one thing that I'm doing, I got it actually an idea from the guys that I live with. I heard them like 3 months ago now talking about them putting on their phone, just turning it to grayscale. So I was determined to do that during Lent. On Wednesday I did that, so we're 4 or 5 days in now. I tell you what, all the color is out. It's depressing, right? I find myself wasting a lot less time on there. Like the videos, the pictures, they're less appealing. My addiction to my phone is getting hit a little bit here. You just go on to settings, it's under accessibility, and you just flip to grayscale. If you don't know how to do that or what I'm talking about, ask your kids how to do it, okay? Or ask your grandkids. They'll tell you, they'll show you. But something with screens, I called my nephew yesterday. We were talking at one point. I said, hey, tomorrow I'm looking forward to seeing you. You know, I said, hey, today I'm going to see him. I said, hey, let's play some ping pong, and then after ping pong, let's play Fortnite. If you don't know what Fortnite is, it's a video game. And he goes, yeah, ping pong. Oh no, Uncle Mark, we can't play Fortnite. I go, why? He said, because I gave it up for Lent. And part of me was like, darn, like I've come to enjoy playing Fortnite with him when I go over there, but yeah, it's not going to happen today. I find it extremely difficult to believe that we're serious about going in the desert if we're not doing something with our screens for 40 days. So this time Lent, 40 days, we have this opportunity to identify our dark wood, to identify the dark woods that we might be in, and to notice what sins, what temptations are stalking me as of late. And instead of just trying to maneuver around them once in a while, which is ultimately managing sin, and then what happens if we just get used to managing sin is that we get used to the sin, we get desensitized to the sin. What if we really took a stand this Lent? What if we really took a stand? And instead of being stalked by sin and temptation and the devil, what if we stalked it and watched for it and studied it and engaged in a battle plan to beat it? Take the journey. Go down. Go inside. That's the path for true conversion. That's the path for true healing, for true freedom. It's the move toward divine love. First step is to make sure we're actually entering the deserts.